Yo, welcome in. My name is Sweet Phil, and right now I've been rocking the Fire Druid down in the Stony Tombs while I'm live streaming. And I do live stream right here on this very YouTube channel. So if you ever want to catch me, just make sure you subscribe up and get the bell notification turned on. And while we're at it, I want you to hit that like button right now. But I'm going to show you my build here as sort of a guide and a showcase. I'll show a little bit of gameplay later of me taking out monsters in areas that are great for this particular Fire Druid. Now right here, we're going to start off with where I put my stat points because it's incredibly easy. It's just like any other character. Essentially, we put enough strength to wear your gear. We put nothing else into dexterity. All the dexterity I got is just extra I get off of the gear, and dump the rest into vitality, none into energy. Now, down below me here, you see my resistances are not great. This is my magic find Druid here. So what I do is I try to balance my resistances, balance the survivability with the life, with the magic find, with the kill speed, so that I can kill stuff fast. If I die one time out of 400 runs or something, it's really not a big deal if I get caught, if I'm not paying attention for a second. So I get just enough resistances into the resistances that I need for the areas that I'm farming in order to make it efficient. So that's why my resistances are sitting right here. You don't need to really worry about fire that much. When you're down in the Stony Tombs, that's what I'm doing with this character right now. There are beetles down there, so lightning is important to get lightning res, and you get poisoned all the time, so the poison res is more important. These could be higher really easily with a few different charms, and literally like one gear swap, and you could cap these right out. No problem. So I'll go ahead and jump into the skill tree here. Just like any Fire Druid, it's going to be all straight down essentially this side of the skill tree over here. Now, we maxed out everything from Molten Boulder, Fissure, Volcano, and Armageddon, and then I've been pumping the rest of my remaining points into Firestorm here because that is a synergy for Molten Boulder, a skill that I use quite often. Now, 1 point wonder over here, I just put 1 point into Arctic Blast so I could get down to Cyclone Armor, and I try to keep that up as much as possible. It absorbs up to the 256 damage here. I got 19 to skills with just 1 base point into it, so that will help you out a little bit. Just try to keep that up as much as you can kind of remember to. Shape-shifting skill tree, super easy to remember. You don't do nothing with this, bud. Don't put no points over here. And then over on the summoning, I just put 1 point into Oak Sage because it does give you quite a bit of health, helps you and your mercenary out with survival. And that's all you do for the skill tree. All of these fire skills, you are going to be using those throughout the gameplay. So the stats in the skill tree down already. Let's take a look at the gear, and this is a lot of like standard Magic Find caster gear. So we're just going to go over it real quick. I'll try to give a couple of other options in some certain key places. We got the Hoto right here. It's pretty much the only option unless you're going down to a spirit, but this is a reasonably good rolled Heart of the Yoke. Up here we got the Shaco, all the good stuff that comes on the Shaco. You could throw on Jalal's main, you get a bunch of resistance, strength, and a few other things. So that's another option. That would get your resistances up for better survivability from elemental attacks from different things. But the Shaco, absolutely legendary, great go-to option for any caster, any Magic Find character. Here we got Amara's, didn't roll very good. This is what I just found on single player, but that gets our resistances a little bit higher, and that really helped out. Any sort of good caster amulet or rare amulet, great options here as well. We got over here the Spirit Monarch, pretty much is the only thing, the only go-to. Besides that, there's a bunch of lower budget items there. We've got the Enigma here to teleport around. If you can get your hands on one of these for almost any character, you're going to want to, and throw it on. Obviously, if you throw on a Viper Magi, that's going to get those resistances up as well to give you the one to skill instead of the 2 we get here, and cast rate there. But Enigma is so good with the 2 to skills, strength, increased max life, damage reduction, life after kill, so you almost have life leech here on a caster, and 88 to Magic Find is Magic Find based upon character level 1 per level. Now this is a Fire Druid, so you definitely want to go with Mage Fist here. 1 to fire skills does work for the fire skills for the Druid. So make sure you throw on Mage Fist. Don't go with Trance Gloves in this particular instance. We have a Ravenfrost here. I cannot stand being frozen, so I got to throw one of those on. You also do get Cold Absorb, some Mana, some Dex, stuff like that. But mainly that cannot be frozen. I just cannot stand it when you're just trying to move a little bit left and right and you're like stuck in the mud. Over on the other ring, we got a Stone of Jordan for that 1 to skill. So that is going to boost up the damage even more and increase maximum mana. Here we got the Arachnid's Mesh, cast rate 1 to all skills. Boom. That's pretty much the one you want to go to. Besides that, you're probably going to end up throwing on either maybe you get a Trang spell for the cannot be frozen and do something else with the rings, or you're going to throw on like a gold wrap. Over on the boots here, we've got War Travelers. That is an obvious option for any of the Magic Find type of characters. Get some good rare boots or something besides that. Down here we got some elemental skillers, the best you can get. You gotta have a Geeds, obviously. You gotta have a Torch and Annie. Unfortunately, I haven't found a Druid Torch on single player, so I just drew my Sorcerer's Torch here just to get the res and the attributes. But you're gonna want this to be a Druid Torch, obviously. And we got an Annihilus Charm down here. The rest I fill up with my best options for Magic Find charms, and some of them I grabbed maybe not the quote-unquote best, but they're Magic Find charms with good resistance on them as well. The lightning and the poison, the ones that I am mainly concerned with. So here, this one does have a little bit of cold too, but these are pretty good ones. This one I threw on here just to get a little bit extra poison res, and I actually, even though I do teleport with this particular character, I actually do run back and forth a little bit more often than most people probably would, just a personal preference of gameplay style. Now we'll go ahead and take a look offhand. Pretty obvious choice here. A CTA and a Spirit. CTA rolled real bad. Probably want to try to get yourself a better one, but on single player, you get what you get. And just some random Spirit over here for the 2 to skills. Now, the mercenary gear, I got an insight. Keep that mana up when you're teleporting around because you got no points into mana. It's kind of important. You could go with some other options if you want him to deal out more damage. Or you could even throw on an infinity that does not break fire immunes, but if they're not immune to fire, it will lower their fire resistance a bunch, increasing kill speed. But I haven't got there yet. Getting an ethereal base would be better, but it's not going to be a huge deal. I just threw on any insight I had around. We've got a treachery. Fortitude, obviously going to be a great option. Haven't made one of those yet on single player. Fortitude you could slap on here and it'd be great. You'd be dealing a lot more damage. But I got the treachery. I do have an Indarl's Visage up here. Everybody knows the Tal Rasha's Herodric Crest, the Tal's Mask, is a great budget option for that Act 2 mercenary. I generally just keep going with the Act 2 mercenary, even though they did increase the other mercenaries slightly. I do want to take a look at the advanced stat page just to show you where we landed here. 330% Magic Find. That's a great spot. You could get away with doing a little bit less if you did pull off that Shaco. You'd be down at like 250. That's a-okay, and your survivability could go up. If you had the Jalals on, you could even put an Jalals to get that resistance even higher, and you would just be like essentially invincible, right? When we come down here a little bit more, hit recovery's at 55. The breakpoint was 63. I didn't feel like plugging more charms in there. I didn't really feel like it was that big a deal. You don't really get hit that often, to be perfectly honest. So the 63 is the next one higher, and then the other one's lower. I think it was 42 or something. I can't remember exactly, but that's perfectly fine. That's just from the Spirit. I just went with it. The cast rate here, we're at 115 is where it ended up falling without any struggle, really. We only have a few pieces of caster gear on. I really didn't even pay attention. The breakpoint's 99. And then 163. I didn't want to try to get all the way to 163. I didn't feel it was necessary, especially for the fire build, because there's a little bit of a delay on essentially all of the fire skills. The cast rate is kind of just to cast your battle orders faster and to teleport faster. So there we are at a perfectly fine FCR breakpoint as well. Now, in a very obvious place that's good for fire, we'll come out to Eldritch and Shang. Maybe we'll just hit Eldritch. But first off, go ahead and we'll get the Oak Sage out. We'll go ahead and get our armor going, the Cyclone armor. Go ahead and battle order it up, and then you're ready to go. This is a little bit of a button masher as far as it comes to the skills, so we can teleport out here a little bit if we want, or we can just run out here. I'm gonna go ahead and put down the Fissure first, which is my F1. You can bring up the volcanoes. You're also gonna want to have your Firestorm right here, or your Armageddon, I mean. So you just kind of cycle through that stuff. They're already dead. But the Fissure comes down, the Volcano goes down, the Armageddon rains down, and boom, the pack's down. We will go ahead and run down and take out Shank down here as well, and just show you one more time how that goes, and we'll move on to the next area after that. So just walk down in the middle here. You do also have these Molten Boulders you cast away too. He is immune to fire, but that is why this character is actually kind of good. You see those Molten Boulders took him out. Molten Boulder actually has physical and fire damage, and actually the Volcano also has physical and fire damage, so that's a good way this build can actually deal with immunities in this game. Now, similar to before, and I mentioned it, this is where I'm using it currently, down in the Stony Tombs, because there are no inherent fire immunes down here. You can see it's just slapping these down. I did mention this, I do actually kind of run around back and forth a little bit with this character. I don't use it like a tele-stomping sorceress, like a lot of other people would. I just don't find that a fun way to play, but you can see it pretty much takes them out pretty much a-okay on a higher player difficulty count, maybe 7 or 8. It does go a little bit on the slow side. I tested it out. I've personally been running this on players 3 difficulty, and I feel that that is kind of the fastest and most efficient way. I am primarily a holy grail in magic finding like that, and you can see it's working perfectly fine down here. The hardest thing to get used to is just all the skills you're casting and the different rotation between them. How long the delay is on each one and when you can cast it is essentially the most difficult part, but it'll take you a few runs to kind of get used to. And you can see even with the resistances that I have, they're not perfect. The poison does do a little bit to you, but you're not really getting into any danger unless there's some crazy different like auras that pop up if they're cursed and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But besides that, you're a-okay. This is not a dangerous area at all. So there aren't really a ton of good areas for the particular type of fire builds in this game. There are a few, and there's a couple of them. You can see it works pretty good. This is a good change of pace. You want to do something different. You want to play that Druid character. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe up if you have not already. So peace out, fellas, and don't forget, keep slaying.